This next question, and please don't take offense to the questions. These are the things that we're hearing and feeling.
Never,
Okay.
never.
The vaccines do not seem to be working, so why take the risk?
Okay, I can start with this one. This is a really important question because we hear it all the time. People are still getting infected, so what's the point? And if we remember the whole purpose of these vaccines, and it's to prevent serious disease and to prevent hospitalizations and death. That's it. It was never really meant to prevent infection. Now, in the beginning, we thought, oh gosh, this was like a nice little, how well these vaccines work. But this is similar to, say, to the influenza vaccine. When people come back and they say, man, it didn't work, I still got the flu. I said, thank goodness you did, because you could have gotten really sick had you not. So these vaccines, they will prevent you from dying from COVID, by and large. And it's almost analogous to seatbelts. Once people started wearing seatbelts, lives were saved, but it did not decrease the number of car accidents that we were seeing. So it's still very important to get vaccinated, even though people are still getting infected.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, I get it. I get it because, I think really what drives that question is that everybody is pretty tired of hearing about COVID. They're tired of seeing it. They're tired of getting it. The people who have had it once or even more than once, they're pretty tired of COVID. And I think that's where a lot of this comes from. And the truth is, like Dr. Berman said, that the vaccines were not necessarily designed to prevent. It's really hard to design something that actually stops you from becoming infected. All right. Most all of our vaccines are not designed to do that. They're designed to prevent you from getting very seriously ill or getting the complications. Because of the way the immune system works, it's very hard to prevent someone who's exposed to a disease from actually getting an infection. What you can prevent is how sick you get. And that's what the vaccine is designed to do.
Well, I'm going to take a contrarian point of view with this a little bit. When the vaccines were first developed, we were hoping that if they had a 50% efficacy rate, that would be good. And instead, it was a grand slam home run. It was out of the ballpark, 90-some% reduction in the number of infections. And then, so that part was unexpected, right? And unfortunately, what I think that did was that took people's eye off the ball, right? And so the ball is that. It's not so much, do I get infected? Do I don't get infected? In some ways that's irrelevant. In some ways it's not. But it really is who's getting sick and who's getting in the hospital. And one of the big problems that we faced was that we were worried that our hospitals would be overwhelmed. And, we certainly saw that early on in the pandemic. We saw in New York, the New York City hospital system was on the verge of collapsing. So in other words, if you had a heart attack, you wouldn't have a place to go. If you broke your leg, you wouldn't have a place to go. And it was similar in New Orleans too. Unfortunately, we never got there, and we were fortunate in the sense that we were able to see what was happening in these other places and prepare for it, so it didn't happen to us. But so that's the first thing that it prevented. But it still also prevents you from getting infected. So it's a little bit of both, and it either reduces the severity or keeps you from getting it. If you get infected, is that a failure? Not really. And I think that's the real thing. So why do people say, well, why should I take it if it's going to get? Because they don't want to get vaccinated. All right. That's why they're doing that. Okay. So this is America. If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's fine. You don't have to get vaccinated. We're not forcing people to get vaccinated. But we are really strongly recommending it, and trying to convince people and cajole people, and just let people know that it's really safe, and you're better off getting it than not getting it.
And with that, both Dr. Dasha and I seeing patients in internal medicine clinic as well as in the hospital, people who are getting sick now with Omicron, they're sick at home.
Right.
Versus people who are unvaccinated and getting sick with Omicron, they're in the hospital and they're just as sick as they were with every other variant that we have seen. So there's so much value to, getting that vaccine to help prevent that serious illness that we have seen firsthand.